Well, the college football playoff rankings are out, and I really didn't think Georgia would be this much of a discussion point, but the national media is kind of losing their mind right now, just generally speaking. You got Kirk Herbstreit, who is a good, broadcaster. He's having to apologize to Michigan for something he said. I thought it was bizarre what he was saying at the time. So he gets on Twitter afterwards and apologizes. And you've got other folks, Bruce Feldman, uh, other national guys who are honestly, these guys are good at their jobs, but they have latched on to Georgia. And the guy I'm going to talk about in particular is Joel Klatt. Now, if you don't know who Joel Klatt is, that's okay because you wouldn't see Georgia get broadcast on Fox, and he is their number one analyst, and he has gone full in. Some of this stuff he's got is correct. So his tweet says there are four college football predictions or college football playoff, reactions. There are four heads and shoulders. The top four are head and shoulders above everyone else. Alabama number one, and then 2, 3, and 4, however you like. I think Alabama is head and shoulders above everyone else for sure. Disrespect for BYU is real, and I don't understand it. I don't know that he's necessarily wrong right there. And then he's saying that he hears the same thing that Herbstreit says that he hears from coaches, which is that certain programs are scared. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Those are words people will fight over. But the one to me that really, are these guys triggered or something? Like, it says Georgia is laughable in the top 10. So I'm going to really go through this. You're going to want to stick around the whole time, okay? Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Maybe just making people smarter, generally speaking. So let's just, or I hope to at least, let's talk about this. Georgia in the top 10 is laughable. So there have been two metrics for dozens of years now, decades, which is the Associated Press poll and the coaches poll, and which was once the what's called UPI poll. So you've got the top 10 of the college football playoff, which is Alabama, Notre Dame, who beat Clemson, who is 3, Ohio State is 4, and then you got A&M in front of the Gators, in front of Cincinnati. For me, I'm not sure I don't have a giant argument with any of that. I think Cincinnati is a really good team. And then you have Georgia at 8, Iowa State at 9, and Miami at 10, Oklahoma at 11, Indiana, and then BYU, which I think is a sticking point for a lot of people. And I'm not going to argue against that. And then you also have, after BYU, Northwestern, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Coastal Carolina, Iowa, USC, and then Marshall. I'm going to talk about all those teams in the top 20 that people are talking about, but let's just not even get into that first. There are 3 polls now, but 2 of them have been around since 1930s, and the other one since the 50s or so, which is the UPI poll, which became the coaches poll. Again, here is the quote from Joel Klatt, who is, again, if you don't know who he is, it's understandable because he's not been around SEC games. Fox only has Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12 games, so no SEC, no ACC games. His quote again in the tweet is, Georgia football in the top 10 is laughable. The AP Top 25 has Georgia at 11. So, not in the top 10, but the spot below Indiana. So it's laughable that Georgia would get in. Okay. And then we have the coaches poll, which has Georgia at 10. So the coaches poll has got it wrong too, apparently, because it would be laughable that Georgia would be in there. Look, I'm going to go through a couple more things first because I know that these guys get paid to have outlandish takes, so you react to it and all this stuff. But I really think we got to be a little better as, I don't know if Joel Klatt considers himself a journalist or not, but we've got to be better as a society of living in reality. Okay, if 2 of the 3 things this past 60 years are indicating that someone is literally in the top 10 or a spot behind the top 10, it is not laughable that they would be in the top 10. Part of this, I think, is that this Georgia team, which is not to the level of the 19, 18, or 17 teams, I think what's happening in the national media is they're being judged on what they've done in the recent past. And I get it. This is not a national championship caliber team. There is no path for them. There is no realistic path for them to get to the playoff. I mean, Florida would have to lose twice. It's just not happening. So no one's making that argument. But to say it's laughable, well, let's get people in front of Georgia. Okay, so Georgia's the number 8 team. Cincinnati has won all of its games. It's not lost. It has won 7 games by 10 points or more. So double-digit wins. They've had one game where it was 10 points or fewer. Cincinnati belongs in the top 10. To me, they belong in front of Georgia. Then you have Georgia. 5 10-point wins or 10 points or more this season. Only one with 10 points or fewer. And, of course, the 2 losses to Florida and Alabama. Behind Georgia, immediately in the college football playoff poll, you have Iowa State, which is a great story. They only have 3 wins that are double-digit wins. 4 of their wins are by 10 points or fewer. And, of course, they have the 2 losses. One of those losses to Louisiana, which, come on now. Let's come on. Miami, who I've seen play live and is a good team, they're not playing as well lately. They've got 4 wins that are double-digit wins, Having some issues here. 3 by 10 points or fewer. Miami's struggling here lately. So, that's your top 10. So, you want to knock Georgia behind those 2? I mean, I wouldn't do it, but okay. Then you've got Oklahoma, who, like Georgia, has 5 wins by 10 points or more. They have 1 by 10 or fewer. They have 2 losses, just like Georgia, but one of those losses is to a team that has a losing record right now. Not exactly Alabama or Florida. Got Indiana, 4 wins with 10 points or more, by 10 points or more, 1 by 10 or fewer, and then, of course, the loss to Ohio State. Now, Indiana's problem is that they're not going to have their quarterback from here on out, which is not cool. You say BYU. Now, BYU, you could make the argument they should be in the top 10. But that's not what Joel Klatt is saying. He's saying it's laughable that Georgia should be in. All right, so BYU is got 8 wins by 10 points or more, 1 by 10 or fewer, and, of course, no losses. Now, the issue that everyone has, including the playoff committee, is BYU's schedule. The beating they put on Navy was legit. So they beat Navy by 52 points. And then they beat Troy by 41. I'm doing this very quick math here. They blow out Louisiana Tech. And then you have this really odd game where they beat Texas San Antonio by a touchdown. So that's a weird one. But, Texas San Antonio's in first place in Conference USA. Okay, whatever. But the schedule is not what everyone else is playing, which is kind of a problem. You got Northwestern right after BYU. They have 2 wins by 10 points or more, 3 by 10 or fewer, and a loss. The loss is to a team that has a losing record. So are you putting Northwestern in front of Georgia? Wisconsin's only played 3 games. They're 2-1. Both their wins were convincing wins by 10 or more, but they lost to Northwestern. So you got Oklahoma State, 2 wins by 10 points or more, 4 by 10 or fewer, 2 losses. I'm stopping how many of the losses are to teams with losing records. You got Carolina. They have 6 total wins, 4 by 10 or more, 2 by 10 or fewer, 3 losses. Are you going to put North Carolina in front of Georgia? Am I going too far? Because I still have a few to go here. Coastal, which, 8 wins by 10 or more points, 1 by 10 or fewer. Are we really talking about putting Coastal in front of Georgia? Is that what we're talking about? Because, we got a couple more. Iowa, who has 3 wins by 10 or more. Of course, they have 1 by 10 or fewer and 2 losses. And we have Southern Cal, or SC. So they've got 1 win by 10 points. They've only played 3 games and 2. They're undefeated, SC. 2 by 10 or fewer. So which of those teams are you sticking in front of Georgia? Is it Iowa State with the 3 dominant wins and 4 tight ones? Is it Miami with the 4 dominant wins and the 3 tight ones, particularly the close ones lately? I mean, Miami was not even competitive with Clemson by the end of the first half. I mean, you could make the argument Alabama's toughest game so far this season has been Georgia. I mean, you look at, they beat Missouri by 20. They beat, or 19, whatever it was, a blowout. Blowout A&M, blowout Mississippi, blowout Georgia, blowout Tennessee. The last 3 teams have combined to score 16 points on them. So Who is the team that played Bama the toughest? Is it Georgia or is it Mississippi? Because I don't, I mean, you could say A&M for sure too. But that game was over by half, and the Georgia game was not over by the half. But okay, whatever. I think the thing is when you say stuff that's so outlandish, it's hard to take anything you say seriously. And like, if you want to put Oklahoma in front of Georgia, I mean, let's make the argument. What is the argument to do that for OU? They've got the loss to Kansas State, who has a losing record, and you've got the loss at Iowa State. Nothing, no shame there. They beat Texas in overtime. I mean, OU is playing better for sure. They sort of routine Texas Christian. They absolutely kill Texas Tech and Kansas, and then they just, as usual, destroy Oklahoma State. So, Oklahoma in front of Georgia. I mean, Kansas State is got a losing record. I mean, so to me, the hot take kind of gets ridiculous after a while. Let's be better than that. I mean, I know we all do it, and sort of this is what we do in college football, but it's gotten to the point where, okay, you don't like Georgia, who do you have in front of them? BYU? All right. Are you going to put BYU and Indiana? Are you going to put BYU? I mean, like, who are you knocking? Who are you knocking out of the top 10? Is it just Georgia? Are you like, no one's fired up about Iowa State being in the top 10? Like, I'm not. I think they basically got it right. I mean, I think if you're talking about, like, to me, if you want to make the case, I don't know that I would do this necessarily. If you want to make the case that Ohio State's better than Clemson, I mean, okay. But you know what they're doing with the top 5, right? People understand that, right? They're just getting it to where they can match it up to where if Clemson wins, they're not playing Notre Dame in the next game. I mean, they're going to get Ohio. And anyone who thinks Ohio State's going to get left out as an undefeated team, whether they win the Big Ten or not, I mean, that's not going to happen. They will have Ohio State in there, period. It's going to happen. So, to me, what we're seeing here is, and this is really inside baseball, but you're seeing a broadcaster go after a team specifically that his network does not have a contract with, which is Georgia in the SEC. Giving Alabama praise, which how can you not? And then, of course, cheerleading BYU, because no one is harmed by BYU. I mean, BYU, I feel for them in many ways. They tried to get that Washington game scheduled. It just didn't work out. They got the San Diego State game left, but like they played North Alabama in their last game. How are we supposed to really judge? I mean, I think they're good. Do I think they could beat Georgia, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Miami? I mean, they're scoring a pile of points. So if you want to move them up, but you're gonna jump Georgia with Iowa State, like for real? That's what you're going with? Or Miami? You want to make the case that Miami is not playing as well right now as Georgia is. But this is a full breadth thing. So you can't just say, oh, da-da-da. But, Georgia plays Miami. Georgia's probably at least a 6-point favorite. It might be a little less than that. But, Miami of late has really slumped. I mean, they win against Virginia by 5. They beat NC State by 3. They had to hold on against Virginia Tech. I mean, these are not... I think they could lose to North Carolina. That game's in Miami. But my point is, Georgia still got Missouri left on the schedule. And if they go through an SEC schedule at 8-2, people say, well, they didn't beat anybody and all that stuff. Okay, fine. Well, we're getting to the point now in college football where no one's good. And it's just stupid. You look at what you see on the screen. Is Texas A&M good? Yes. Are the Gators good? Yes. Cincinnati is good, okay? Georgia, yes. Now, and even in the past. I mean, again, the Georgia game, they have to have 5 double-digit wins. Okay, and 1 by 10 or fewer, which is the Mississippi State game. Is Mississippi State good? No, but look at some of the, not great wins by Miami I just went over. Iowa State, you've got to win over Texas Christian by 3 points. You've got to win over Baylor by a touchdown. You beat Texas. I mean, is Texas good? I don't think they're bad. They beat them by 3. Oklahoma's picked it up. Oklahoma's major issue here are these losses. So, but let's have some context here. I mean, Penn State's good. Penn State's got one win. That's what we're basing Indiana on, is their win over Michigan and Penn State, who have like a combined 2 wins or something like that. We gotta live a little better. We gotta be better in reality. Like if Georgia had a third loss, like if they had lost to, who could they have lost to that they played? State? I mean, no. I mean they won that game in the fourth quarter. They blew out South Carolina. They blew out Tennessee. They blew out Auburn. They beat Kentucky by 11. Could they have lost to Kentucky? Kentucky didn't score a touchdown. So it is so dumb that we get to this point. Let's give people credit for being good. BYU is a good team. If you want to make the case that BYU is better than Georgia, I will listen to you. If you want to make the case that Iowa State or Miami or Oklahoma or Indiana are better than Georgia, I'll listen to that. But it can't be laughable that a team is in the top 10 when pretty much the consensus is they're in the top 10 or they're the spot behind it. So I'm just asking my brethren in the media. I've only done this for 20 years. I don't have a lot of experience. I've only been a Heisman Trophy voter for the last 15 years and done this for 20 years. I'm not a long-time person. I'm young. But we got to chill out with the hyperbole. And it's if you're going to say that Cincinnati doesn't belong in the top 10, make the case. They're undefeated. They're good. I mean, if they play Georgia, that is not going to be a certain win for the Dogs. If they played Florida, that would not be a certain win for Florida. So we gotta be a little better about the way that we're doing things. And this is not, Kirby can take up for himself. I don't work for Kirby. I cover Georgia. They can do their own thing. They have a $160 million, $180 million public relations team over at Georgia. They can do all these things themselves. But we got to chill out with the hyperbole a little bit, because it just, we don't look good as a profession when we're doing these crazy takes. I guess there are takes in other professions, but it just seems like in sports we go crazy, and it's just for a reaction. And that's what I've done today. So I've bought into it too. But yeah, listen, if Joel Klatt wants to come on and talk with me, I would, because I think he has been open with things. If you see this, Joel, let's talk. We can hook up anytime and talk. I don't have no resentment towards you or anybody in TV. It's fine. We just got to be better about our explanations. Twitter's not the greatest place for that, but you can record a video, put it on YouTube. That's what I do. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Brock Vandagriff highlights. Or they're over here, they're somewhere, and everybody can see a very good quarterback coming up. Brock Vandagriff from Athens threw 7 touchdowns not that long ago. Check it out.